Hi, my name is Tiffany Thompson, and I am an animal science major here at the University of Maryland. In this video, I am going to discuss the highly debated topic of dropping the atomic bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I decided to research this topic because I find it to be very interesting after learning about it in my high school history classes. During my senior year, my history class had a debate where we argued for or against the bombings of Japan. Since high school, this topic has really stuck with me and I want to learn more about it. In this research project, I hope to gain more knowledge about what led the United States to drop the bombs and the effects dropping the bombs still has on Japan today. It all began on December 7, 1941, a date that will live in infamy, said Franklin Delano Roosevelt. On this day, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and killed around 2,300 Americans. At this time, the U.S. was trying to avoid being sucked into World War II, but this attack forced the United States to take up arms with the Allied forces. Towards the end of the war, American troops were concentrated in Japan. The mainland of Japan is surrounded by several smaller islands. The U.S. employed a military strategy known as island hopping, where American troops would invade an island, force the Japanese on the island to surrender, and then move on to the next island. This tactic was inefficient and had extremely high fatalities for both the U.S. and Japan. How did these high fatalities play a role in the ultimate decision to drop the bomb? The U.S. did not decide to start working on the atomic bomb with the thought that it could be used for mass destruction against Japan. Rather, the project began when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt received a letter from Albert Einstein. In Einstein's letter, he warned FDR about how the Nazis were in the process of developing an atomic bomb. The U.S. was left with no choice but to begin working on an atomic bomb in order to prevent the Nazis from winning the war. So how did the U.S. manage to build the atomic bomb in such a short period of time? The Manhattan Project was the project responsible for testing and producing the nuclear weapons. At the time, the project was very confidential, and when President Harry Truman took over after President Roosevelt's death, he was astonished to learn that such a project even existed. The Manhattan Project was located in Los Alamos, New Mexico, in an area isolated from the American public. The first atomic bomb ever produced was tested at the Trinity site. The massive explosion from the test formed a huge crater, and the heat produced melted the sand to form a green glassy substance known as trinitite. At this point, the U.S. demonstrated its ability to produce an atomic bomb for warfare. Why did Roosevelt ultimately decide to use this weapon of mass destruction to kill hundreds of thousands of innocent lives? 2 atomic bombs resulted from the work done at the Manhattan Project. On August 6, 1945, the smaller bomb, known as Little Boy, was dropped on Hiroshima. 3 days later, Fat Man was dropped on Nagasaki. However, before dropping either of the bombs, the U.S. government offered Japan an ultimatum of unconditional surrender or they would face utter destruction. But the Japanese ignored it. How did this play a role in President Truman's decision regarding dropping the bomb? Upon detonation, both atom bombs completely destroyed the cities and all of the people that inhabited them. Many people instantly turned to ash when the bomb was detonated. How many lives were lost at these cities? And is the atomic bomb and its radiation affecting Japanese people today? And if so, to what degree? The most debated question of all is, should the U.S. have dropped the atomic bomb on Japan? There are arguments for both sides, but in the end, was mass destruction of thousands of innocent Japanese lives truly necessary to bring an end to the war?